This session is called Better in the Bedroom: Baptism, Burlesque, Bras, and Beyond. This is an essential conversation for Mormons, Community of Christ, and other restoration movements. Join 21st Century Saints host Sara Delaney, Mormon, and Jane Christie from Community of Christ as we discuss some of the problems women and men face in faith communities and offer some table tipping solutions. Thanks so much for being here,
Awesome.
ladies.
See you shortly. Grace is going to come back and let us know if you guys have any questions and let us know when it's sort of wrapping up time. It is so great. We miss being at Sunstone in person. The way things have worked out, this presentation that we are really excited to give has ended up being kind of last minute. So I was supposed to be talking about burlesque and what this journey has looked like. And we've ended up having a really traumatic time in the UK. We know that for posterity, for history, people looking back on this later, our dear friend and co-podcaster Nemo the Mormon, excuse me, YouTuber, because he's up there. We're podcasting, he's YouTubing. Um, was summoned to disciplinary council, which took place last night, and we are all across in the UK and across the world. We're waiting with bated breath to find out what's happening there. So I have called in my podcasting wife, Sara Delaney, to come and let's just have a conversation rather than having something
Yeah.
super slick. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about some stuff. We're going to make this a little bit interactive. It Now, I don't think you have to necessarily send your kids out of the room, but this isn't one that's designed for children. It's not X-rated in any way, but we are going to be talking about some themes that adults generally have to deal with. Okay, so with that, this presentation has not been approved by a man. No presiding authority has ratified it for your viewing pleasure. Men have not proofread this. We are in a space that women have led. So this is your warning. This is what we talk about when we get together. And men are very welcome in this space because you need to know this stuff too. And some of these things apply equally to you. Women's spaces, it tends to be, we come together in sort of different settings. We have different sort of social structures that kind of make these conversations a little bit easier. If we need to talk about bras or fitting bras or what do we do about buying your first bra, we can get some great advice by walking into the store and asking for it. If you were to ask about what should I get in the way of a bra for myself or for my family member or my girlfriend, you're going to feel uncomfortable, right? We want to, in this conversation, get away from the stereotypical one-dimensional images of what burlesque and what the issues that are surrounding that bring up. People tend to think burlesque, pole dancing, aka stripping, aka sexuality, it's all about the bedroom. And, sometimes it is. But what's really interesting, I think, about dance throughout history, and certainly in the case of burlesque in modern times, is that, and we find this too, my burlesque class, my red hooded girls, we have a predominantly female audience. So when we have a show, husbands, partners, friends show up, but mostly the audience is female, and they are cheering us on. They're feeling empowered. They are feeling, part of the burlesque experience. We dance on chairs, and it's really empowering. Now, I wanted to, Sara, we were talking about this. When we think about the image of tipping over tables, no one ever talks about the chairs, right? We've tipped over some tables, but as women, not only do we not get to tip tables, we have to, when we sit in the chairs
Oh,
at the tables, we have to sit like ladies, right? So we're
Yeah.
going to do, I'm going to do like a little bit of kind of demonstration. You're going to see my legs are moving all over the place tonight. There's going to be a lot of moving around. Sara, okay, the right way to sit in a Relief Society class, right? We would not be sitting like this, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So, especially because you are supposed to wear a dress.
Absolutely. And you would not be having one leg up on the chair, which is how I like to sit. I like to sit on a chair with one leg.
Right.
One leg up on a chair in this,
One leg
like
up.
this, and just not going to happen, is it, in Relief Society? Because
Yes.
people would be looking at you thinking, hey, come on a minute, that's not really on, is it? But, it's comfy. It's
And
a good way to sit.
exactly. And how many women have back problems exacerbated by the pews and the chairs? How many of us are going home after a church meeting and we hurt? Particularly this lower back area, the upper back area, but particularly around here. Now, if you have to stretch that back, where would you go and do that? So you're in Release, or even in Sacrament, where are you going to stretch? Your back's hurting. What are you going to do? Do you stretch there?
Well, it's really difficult. It's really limited. You either have to try and find a way of getting up out the chair and move. If you want to move, like this and stretch, and even that, you need to be a little bit careful, because what's happening to your breasts and your chest as you're moving about and you're stretching in that way.
Yeah, and they will tell you if you pop out. Yeah, someone will be happy to let you know that's happening. The foyer is where we might go if there's not many other women there.
Or the back of the classroom, or the toilets. How many times do women end up in the toilets at church because they're trying to find a way of moving their body in a way that isn't going to be frowned upon? Well, you do that in Relief Society, and that would be seen as, what are you doing? Are you pretending to be a man? What are you doing?
Right,
men don't sit like that.
Let me just come back so you can see that. Yeah, men can sit like this, a lot of spread.
But that's quite comfy if your back's hurting, to sit with your hips
so much
that little bit wider apart. It's quite a comfy way to sit.
Right. So, I mean, we're talking about basic health issues there too, as well as society's expectations, and all
and bring
of those
pregnancy
things.
into it. Just bring pregnancy into how you need to sit when you're pregnant.
Right.
And you've got a great big lump out here, and you're trying to get comfy, and you can't have your legs apart, because if your legs are slightly apart, that is, whoa, what are you doing? You can't sit like that.
Well, I came over a bit too soon. I'm going to take you back to the chair, people. So, burlesque class. This is one of the first things that we do. Okay, let me tilt this down a bit so that you can see chair. Let's move over here a little bit. So what we do in burlesque class is this. We sit right on the edge of the seat, and this is called a sexy seat. So that when you lean back, you've got space to move your legs. So how we sit immediately changes dynamic. We can experiment. Now, the other thing, and you are not going to see all of me here, sadly, we are limited by space. But the other thing, so just you can get what you can. This was my most incredible moment. In the first 5 minutes of class, we were told to stand on this chair. So it's actually a much safer chair that we use in class. It's a metal one. This is just, I left it outside, it got all wet, so we're using this one today. And we were asked to stand on the chair, and I'm like, my back hurts, my knees hurt, how am I going to do this? When we go in the chair, our instructor told us that if you stand with one foot flat, the other foot bent, put your hands on your hips, you can reach right up from here, you will not fall. You will not fall. Now, women.
Well, how often are we told that is very unladylike to stand on a chair or to climb on a chair? How often do we get body placed about the positions in which we're putting our bodies, such as standing on a chair and reaching up?
Right. what do they tell us? Get down, it's not ladylike. We don't climb on furniture. You're going to fall. It's one that my husband will say, and it's concern, you know. What I had never ever been told is, you do this. Here's a little explanation of how to do it safely. You will not fall. You will not fall.
And I think that statement, and I like that statement, you will not fall, because a lot of this thinking about bodies, about burlesque, about bras, about the bedroom, about baptism, a lot of this is about our fear of falling off a chair, falling in people's respect, falling in the eyes of worthiness, in the eyes of the Mormon LDS Church, because we're not fulfilling the gender role of how a woman should behave.
Right. Let's go back a little bit and sort of UK, British, European history of burlesque, and saloons would be a sort of Americanized reference, but that type of theatre, cabaret performance, those kinds of things were it was just what was accessible. It was just what entertainment looked like. It could get quite bawdy, and drag was just not a big it's expected. And still today we have pantomime every year, where the pantomime dame, the mother of the star, the hero, Jack's mother, you know, the Aladdin's mother, they are played by men, and they are in full drag with multiple changes of costume, and no one sort of thinks, oh, there's drag. So I'm thinking a lot about sort of how that looked in this restoration era, because in the US, and obviously Utah Mormon Belt people will have a much clearer understanding of this than we tend to do in the UK, because you know we just have a different lens that we're looking through. But saloon girls, so there are, in saloons you need a clientele, and that clientele was coming from people who could afford to engage with people who worked in saloons. Prostitution was its own industry, and saloon girls would sort of see themselves as a bit of a higher level. They're not sort of down there on that sort of socioeconomic or social level. They would kind of look down. I'm a saloon girl, and they would dance. They would dance with men. They would be encouraging men to buy more drinks, and you know, and they would be drinking something that was non-alcoholic, you know, a sort of darker tea, and going through those motions. But often farm girls, often women who needed work. Then we go through, you know, sort of thinking about who was this clientele at that time? Who were the kinds of people who could afford to access women as entertainment? And that was a role. And so I think feminism, you know, when first wave and even second wave feminism came through, we're sort of looking at how women are viewed and protesting against the exploitation of women, of objectifying them, of you know, sort of rejecting women dressing for the male gaze. And yet we come to today, and we've got burlesque, we've got pole dancing, which is increasingly popular. We also have, you know, sort of in thinking about how women are dressing and presenting themselves, women who are wearing very, very tight lycra sportswear, who just it's particularly tight and particularly form-fitting, and it's seen as extremely empowering. And we're not thinking about it in terms of the male gaze. Sometimes it's in terms of the female gaze, but mostly it's in terms of, does this work for me? Is this practical? How do I feel in this? Is this going to do the job? I love that we're there. Sara, what are you thinking?
I was just thinking about the talk that was given recently by LDS General Authority when he spoke about too many women are wearing yoga pants these days.
Yes.
And I remember thinking about that when I was in my Pilates class and I had got tight-fitting leggings on because they need to be very tight-fitting so that I can move my legs in these positions and I can have my feet like that and my legs like this and etc. And I was just thinking about his quite scathing comments about that women should not be walking around in yoga pants. And yet you think, hang on a minute, why can't women walk around in yoga pants? This is
because
about...
why? Yeah. What's he thinking?
Well, they're actually liking it to the fact that you're walking around in yoga pants, you're showing off your body too tightly, the tight curves, every inch of your body people are seeing. It's too sexual, it's promiscuous. It's going to sexually arouse these poor innocent men that have no control over their emotions and their feelings. And there's a lot of pressure that comes on to how you dress, and when you're taking part even in a sport activity. Now, there's been many times I've gone straight from a Pilates class and I've dived into the local supermarket to pick some shopping up or get some petrol or do something like that. And a few times I've been aware as I've been doing that of this general authority making this speech about how appalling it is that women are walking around in yoga pants, basically showing off everything they've got for every man in the vicinity. And just think, hang on a minute, I'm going to buy a loaf of bread.
Right.
You know? Right. So how have we got there? How have we got there?
Yes, men and decision makers. And you know what? You're welcome, America. British colonialism. We cannot apologise enough on behalf of 21st century saints. We are so fucking sorry.
We are sorry.
So sorry.
We're sorry.
But, you know,
I think you did a good thing with the Boston Tea Party. We're sorry.
Up the rebels. Yeah, we're there for you. But white people have historically decided what dress is okay, what is and would use terms that were extremely, people dressing like savages, that type of language. British colonial India, and this also actually happened in Scotland too. The types of dances, although for different reasons, under British rule, forms of dance were banned in India, forms of traditional dance. And when India had become independent, when it cast off the British rule, up the rebels, that was one of the things that was consciously brought back in. And you see, women historically dance for all sorts of reasons, as do men. It has been an act of worship. It has been an act of for exercise, for movement. We're seeing, that the pyramids of Egypt have got dance represented. Ancient China. There are representations of dance throughout history. And one of the things that I have loved is reading about women who dance for and with each other. This has been something that, as we tell stories, as we interact with children, women dance. And I love that. It bonds us. And that's something that I've definitely been able to experience in having a place like the burlesque cheer dance class that I go to. That's something that's been really, really empowering.
You see, pole dancing is really taken off in the UK. I don't know how it is in America, but in the UK it's really taken off as a fitness activity and a way for women to build body strength, to build upper body strength, and to really use the power of their body and to enjoy the power and strength of their body and to build on that. But there are so many judgmental stereotypes around that. I can almost imagine the reaction you'd get if, as Relief Society activity coordinator, you walked in there and said, I've got a great idea, let's have a pole dancing session. I kind of don't think that's getting approved by any priesthood leader, is it?
Right, but
because
I think this is what LDS Mormonism has done, because community of Christ, we're going to talk about you guys in general, sort of restoration stuff in a moment, but LDS Mormonism, what it most definitely has done has been that sort of colonizing other experiences and traditions, so that the pole is, it's quite a phallic object. You know, it's there.
Well,
It's the structure is what it is, and dance has often involved poles and sticks, and
yeah,
you have in Britain, and
and
you've had
touch.
and touch. But think about the maypole in Britain. Could you share the experience of because you got to see this last year, right? About the maypole.
Yeah, I did. There's a tradition in the UK and the 1st of May when villages would have huge, tall, striped poles that have multicoloured ribbons coming off them. And children would traditionally have a ribbon and do a dance as they danced around the pole. It's almost like you've got this great big pole and then about 30, 40 ribbons with children holding each ribbon. The pole's probably 30 foot high, and then you've got these little kids holding it and dancing around. Now, it actually symbolises the end of summer and the coming of winter, and it symbolises the fight between summer that is trying to stay and hold on to its right to be there, and winter that's trying to come in and get rid of summer. So it kind of symbolises all of that, and it's a fertility, and it's about crops, and it's about everything. But there's something really powerful about these children dancing around holding these ribbons that somehow miraculously don't get tangled up in each other, don't seem to fall over, and do an amazing job with this dancing.
It's so highly choreographed. Yes,
it really is. And then you've got that, which is a huge tradition in Britain, the pole dance around the maypole. All villages have that. It's a massive British tradition in villages. Then you have pole dancing that's taking place where a lot of older women, kind of teenagers, young adults, older women, are learning to pole dance because of the community, the fellowship, the friendship, the body strength it builds them. And I'll give you the experience I had. My granddaughter moved into a new house. I went to visit her to look at her new home, and she was showing me around, and I walked into her bedroom, and there's a pole, floor to ceiling pole in the middle of the room. And I suddenly saw the look on her face where she suddenly thought, what's my nan going to make of this? And I could see her thinking,
it's for the fireman we keep in the
he's
the
hidden.
attic.
It's just in case we need to get down quickly. That's all it's for. And I said, you have a pole in your bedroom? And she went, yeah. She said, I go pole dancing twice a week with a group of girls in the local village. And she said, and it's nothing to do with strip dancing, and it's nothing to do with bars, and it's nothing to do with lap dancing. It's all about fitness and strength. And I said, yeah, I know, I get that. And you can see the relief on her face, because I think she's thinking Mormon experiences, Mormon life. You're going to be thinking this is not a good thing. And I could see that in her face, and it was really interesting that her instant reaction was, is this going to be judged? Yeah. And then yeah, it's cool, I get it. I said, I love it. I said, I bet you're building some fantastic strength. And she was, oh, really am. But the immediate thought was, this is not, oh.
Yeah. How
where does this fit? Where does this fit?
I'm going to fly through a couple of concepts here, and just because I want to be able to do a little kind of, not object lesson. Let's reclaim let's reclaim that phrase. So
you're going into Relief Society now.
Yeah, everyone go into the Relief Society and ask to do pole dancing next week. Yes, that is your welcome, Relief Society everywhere. Yeah, so the venue that we train in, community centres, church halls, which is just blows my mind. There's a crucifix right behind the nearest class to me, and the priest is the person who opens up and you know the door to let the class in and locks up at night. It's the judgments that we are sort of projecting, not everyone inherently carries, which I find really interesting.
Why is that, Jane? Can we just think, why is that? Why do they not? Why do we see more judgments in some aspects of the restorationist movements? And we need to be really clear about that. Why do we need to see some judgments more so there than we do in your local Catholic church, where you can burlesque away to your heart's content with the local priest just doing his own thing?
I think there's a combination of things. We have got a particularly young, cool priest. I think there is a tendency to downplay burlesque and upplay the chair dance part of it. So there's that. And also some of the girls who we train with, do find it really difficult. There is a barrier, and they do feel inherent shame being in that space, and have spoken with their own religious leaders who haven't had issues. Now, clearly some would, and we are in a space where, as an ex-Mormon who's now in Community of Christ, I feel sort of less of those distinct prohibitions about what is right, and what values are being projected and what values are my own.
Do you remember, Jane, just around about the beginning of June, July this year, and I was talking to you about my upcoming family wedding, my granddaughter's wedding, and I said, no, we have a goal here. I said, I've got a sleeveless dress that I intend to wear for this wedding. But I said, I've never worn anything sleeveless in my life because my LDS teachings have been so ingrained and so traditional. I've never been able to wear anything sleeveless in my life. And I said, so we've got to work on this because I've got to wear this sleeveless dress and feel confident in it.
This was a really big deal.
And I'm like,
you were actively working on it. Yeah.
I'm like 67 years old, and I'm thinking I've got to find a way of working on being able to wear a sleeveless dress.
This woman who's so fit with toned arms, and who can comfortably wear you have a lot of wardrobe choices because of your shape and your size. That is a prohibition that you have been handed. And you wore it. And how did you feel?
It was great. I wore the dress. It felt great. I looked good. I felt good. I enjoyed it.
Right.
It was great.
So let's take some of those concepts, because we're going to talk about it in a minute. I'm going to get a bit extreme before we dial it down a bit. So this isn't burlesque. Actually, it's not a strip class. Every now and again, there will be sort of strip tutorials if someone wants to engage with that, and there are sometimes master classes where we'll spend a couple of hours learning a routine which can involve stripping. And if someone doesn't want to go braless, they don't. I haven't met anyone who's attended a class who decided, no, I'm not going to. There are a lot of girls who've said, no, I'm not going to, but they have. And I've been very, very clear they're not going to. And then they've chosen to do that. No peer pressure, but they're like, well, everyone else is doing this, and this isn't the big deal that I thought it would be. Now, these are my nipple tassels. These aren't tassels, these are just the pasties. Okay, so we've got some nice tartan ones here. So historically, it wasn't, you weren't naked if the nipples were covered. So tassels were and pasties were something that performers would be able to wear so that they could get around the laws around nudity, and they were quite strict.
Can we have a quick comparison here for 1 second?
Yes.
Right. I would describe myself as a radically rebelliously, reluctantly engaged Mormon. Right? You have managed to take that step and move away, and you're a member of Community of Christ.
Yeah, but I was doing this as a Mormon. Yeah,
yeah. You were, and I think that's really important. And somehow you had, on your Mormon journey, moved from being able to do burlesque. I'm stuck in that. I need to wear a sleeveless dress, Jane. How am I going to do this? Right. And there's some real comparisons there, isn't there? About how the journey, and it's partly it goes along with a spiritual journey. You can't separate the two from history, conditioning, religious teaching and theology, and spiritual journeys. And yours has got you to tassels on nipples. Mine has got me to a sleeveless dress.
Right. And there hasn't been any, oh, what are you talking about, sleeveless? That shouldn't be. It's, we know these are real issues, and we have worked on them, and in various ways, and we've had really exciting conversations with other people about them. Now, so I'm going to talk about this because I really want to show you all how to take off a bra. Okay, we're going to show you how to do that, and don't worry, you will not go blind. You're not going to see anything inappropriate, but I just want you all to be prepared that you might want to, if you are a bra wearer or you plan to wear a bra, you might want to take notes, mate. So, or have questions. So yeah, we're going to get there in a moment. Yes, I am plus size, and I have more body confidence now. than I've ever had before. Being away from the expectations that have been handed to me. If we can't even think about ourselves being undressed, then how can we have a relationship with someone else looking at us? If we aren't our own, if our touch isn't our own, then what does that mean for our relationships? And so this is a conversation that's about beyond the bedroom, but it affects the bedroom. So I'm just going to do some fun things, because we need to wrap up for time, and we are available if anyone wants to continue this conversation. But we're taking off the hoodie, and what I have done is I have prepared. This is the bra. Sarah, have you got a bra with you?
Well, I do. I have my bra here.
Hold up your bra. Okay.
I have my bra. Okay. We have a bra.
We have put on the bra. Now, what you might want to do, if you want to, because we're going to talk just very briefly about, it is so difficult for Mormon women to go bra shopping. Bra over or under. As you can see today, we're going for bra over, and we will say no more about that. Now, what we're going to do, first of all, to look after your bra. You really don't want to be stretching it, pulling at it. But we want to do this and feel really good, potentially be flirty with a partner. We want to be maybe kind of, you remember when you're in an early relationship and just a simple look is enough to do it. And we forget that later on. And modesty culture means we shouldn't even look at someone in a sensual way. You can reclaim that. What is it like if you walked around just with your bra? Just not holding anything and not tucking anything in. Just relax and you're wearing your bra. So what we would do is reach across, and you're just going to demonstrate. You're just going to, because we're not going to do this quick, we're going to do it nice and slow. You're going to take your hand up and over. And then we're going to go for the other side. Again, nice and slow. Hand up and over. Now, lots of women are uncomfortable about here. In the UK, we call them bingo wings, you know, bingo, and there's a little bit of flappage. No one cares. You look amazing. This is your body. This is what it looks like when it's your age, and this is, you're here, you're alive, and so many people don't make it this far. So enjoy your skin. Can you even think about how rarely we touch our own skin? And just being conscious of that. So now that we're here, all we're going to do with one hand is just to reach around to the clip, and you'll need to practice this a little bit. And we just snap. We may need to practice. We just snap and pop, and the bra is off. You can play a little bit with it. You can throw it at someone, take your time and enjoy it. The next thing that we have is our glove. You can have fun. This is something else. This is a prop we use in our classes. And we whip the floor, we whip the chair, just having a little bit of fun with it, because when we laugh, it just releases those happy hormones, and we are burning more calories. And have you ever bought a whip? Isn't it good to say, you know what, I've got a whip, and yeah, I do.
And as we're doing this, shame is starting to go and to vanish, and you begin to feel that this is the body that God gave me. This is the body that I can use to enjoy, that I can use for pleasure, that I can use any which way is safe and good for me to use.
Hold on to that thought, because we're going to do one more little thing here. A glove. And all we do to prepare with this, so we want to keep it not too high up or it's tight to get off. We want to just one finger at a time, pull it off, and inside we have some rose petals. So you can prepare, and it's fun. I am going to share my screen and show you guys. I thought I was going to show you guys. Yes, and I have only ever shared this with family members, with Sara and my mother. And when I say family members, I mean my husband and one of my kids. So everyone does not get to see this. But I wanted to show it to you all, because you're probably thinking, yeah, but she does that. So this is me. Plus size, you can see lots and lots of lovely cellulite. You can see the bingo wings. You can also see we don't give a stuff. This feels good. Let me show you the next one. We're playing with fire now. And there is an audience who are watching me. There's an audience behind, and just having fun with that element, because
a good girl's meant to do this.
No,
Okay.
it's fun.
Okay.
Well, there's no sin here, right? So it doesn't feel like a stereotypical girl. Now, here is one of my earliest ones. Okay, this, yep, she's naked, except for underwear and stockings. And yeah, I wanted to share that with you all, because I am so not stereotypically confident. I know it seems like it, but we all have the same issues. We all have the same fears. Now, when we're talking, Sara, about being good and all of the things around that, community of Christ, I love you guys. There is this statement. Now, what is it actually called? You'll because I am not clear on the language. A statement of sexual ethics. Oh my goodness, ethical sex, right? We need to talk about this as a whole separate other thing. What is ethical sex? But one of the things, so we're affirming, Community of Christ are affirming, sexuality is part of the goodness and sacredness of human creation and is not inherently sinful, which many religions and societal things do project. What's this? The first statement. Okay, we will uphold the principles of moral behaviour and relationships provided in Doctrine and Covenants, approved by World Conference as foundational for sexual ethics. These principles are the worth and giftedness of all people. Giftedness. Wow. Protect the most vulnerable. Christ-like love. Mutual respect. Responsibility. Justice, covenant, and faithfulness. Now, I really, really like this. But one of the things that I want to, there's two things I want to pull out here, and we're going to just hit these really quickly. We also affirms, this is D. Moral, and there's lots of phenomenal statements, but D, moral sexual relationships demonstrate the principles of Christ-like love, mutual respect, responsibility, justice, covenant, and faithfulness. I really, in all of this, haven't talked about God much. I'm a God-fearing girl. Jesus stan. But it's not fun when they, please don't bring God into the bedroom. I know he's omnipotent, but it makes me, yeah.
Yeah, I think religion, I think there's too much of churches and teachings around theology that bring God into the bedroom and intimate relationships, instead of just taking the stance that, do you know what, let's have consensual, adult, meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
Whereas
I'm not saying
you
it's
start
a bad
to get
thing.
things can get very prescribed. Things can get very prescribed. And
yeah,
I love that there's ethics. I love that there's moral and responsible choices, and I love that. I think that's really important. But what we don't need anywhere is people taking away consensual adults' ability to choose what is healthy and good for them. But I mean, we've gone through such ups and downs in the LDS church, haven't we? You had the time when oral sex within marriage was forbidden, and seeing as you can get excommunicated for that. Gay activity is still completely forbidden. Sex outside of marriage is still completely forbidden. And we got all these kind of teachings that get kind of really, in porn shoulders that's still forbidden, and all the rest of it. We bring theology into impacting on intimate relationships far too frequently, when actually all we need is a simple statement that make responsible choices that are fully consensual with respect.
I think
don't need anything else.
Yeah,
Do we?
what I guess I'm kind of getting at is that this statement is actually a really good statement, and I'm
Yeah,
just
it is.
highlighting
I
a
like
couple
it.
of things. It's
I
because
like
it's
it.
Jesus they brought into the bed. It's because it's Christ-like love, and I get it. But see, if we were talking about, you know, goddess worship or the sacred feminine, or there is a theology of the bedroom.
Do we bring
But
Heavenly
then Jesus,
Mother into the bedroom? No, hang on. Do we bring Heavenly Mother into the bedroom? Because we only
well,
seem
yeah,
to talk about
Heavenly Mother
Heavenly
has a
Father.
clitoris, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
she
do we
has a woman's
actually
body.
bring her into the bedroom? Yeah, you're going to give Grace a nosebleed in a minute, Jane. Do
Oh,
we
Grace is here for
actually bring Heavenly Mother into this at all? Because
Well,
she seems to get left out of these discussions to do with modest behaviour, chastity, sexual relationships, body. She seems to be the one person that would have more to say and understand and teach us about the female body than anyone else. But we seem to focus on what male deity tells us.
So we're going to just hit this final point, and then we'll get to wrapping up. But I'd really like us to have a think about this. And now I'm going to stress, Community of Christ are constantly reviewing and talking about stuff and analysing stuff, and this is so cool. I love that you have this. Couples involved in sexual activity have responsibility for each other's physical, mental, and spiritual health.
Oh, I love that.
So good.
Oh,
okay, but let's talk about F. Now, I know this has been discussed in particularly the UK just now. I think younger people had sort of brought this up. The section before that, section F, the sacrament of monogamous marriage based on the principle of covenant initiated by God is the relationship through which sexuality can fulfill its potential to bless human lives. The sacrament of marriage stresses sexual fidelity to one's spouse. It promotes love, trust, companionship, intimacy, spirituality, and peace. So it's emphasising marriage, and it does stress that, you know, what it's civil marriage is equally, you know, respected and accepted, and all of this kind of thing. But there is a preferred kind of physical relationship, and that is within marriage. So people who have chosen for whatever reason not to, does that fit with the worth of all souls, or the, you know, sort of the non? Now, what I love is that is being discussed and those questions are being asked. Is this really respectful? Are we holding some form of judgment there? Sara, we're going to summarise this with a couple of thoughts in case there's any questions that people want to ask, and if not, we can follow up. Sara.
When we think about sexual behaviour within the concept of religious settings and church and faith-based journeys, we tend to focus on those relationships between men and women. Now, I get Community of Christ have moved beyond that and have taken that courageous step of embracing the worth of all souls and allowing us gay folk out there on the planet to have a life, which is pretty cool. I like that. But there's room for a lot of movement in the LDS church. But we don't ever seem to embrace or value or even talk about and acknowledge the asexual bit, where people might not want to have any form of a sexual relationship whatsoever, whether they're married or not. And that's something else that we need to start thinking about. How do you not leave people like that feeling that there's something wrong and different about their choices and their way of life? I think we should give some thought to that. But I just, I love that Community of Christ are thinking through these things, and that they're kind of like brave enough to say, well, let's have a discussion about it. We might not like the outcome. We might not like the discussion.
Right.
But let's go there. Let's go there. Okay. And let's go there with the fact that our bodies are given us to us from God. And if we are using them with respect, and we're really looking out for the respect and concern of anybody else, then let's just kind of go there. Well, let's not concern ourselves about individuals that are consenting, understanding, respectful adults are choosing to do in an intimate relationship. And I think let's banish God from the bedroom to some extent. Let's not be thinking about, is God watching? Is God here? What's happening here? Let's kind of move that to one side, and let's have a relationship between two adults that doesn't have to necessarily be based on strong theological teachings wherever they come from. Individual Grace. Moral compass.
Yeah, Grace, have we got questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple for you.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
So first, Karen, this is related to what you're talking about right now, but Karen in our Zoom chat says bringing God into the bedroom is promoted by patriarchy. Interestingly, there are also lots of
Ooh,
subliminal messages about how we use our bodies. Even Community of Christ has remnants of medieval Protestant values.
right.
I love that.
Beautifully put. Yes.
I love
Yes.
that it's patriarchy, which is like Heavenly Mother doesn't come into the equation.
Oh,
Love
she
that.
says the report and proposal for cohabitation, especially referencing priesthood, is due to be discussed at the next Community of Christ Mission Center conference.
Which is in a few weeks. So
And
if
you're a
you want
member
more
of Community,
details,
and you're a member of Community of Christ, Jane. So I expect you
yeah,
to be there,
so
involved in the
happy.
discussion.
Yeah,
I'll be there I'll be there doing
right,
something radically
mum.
rebellious for the LDS Church, and you can get off and sort this out.
Yeah, but I'm disorganized, so yeah,
Yeah.
ask, and we will point you in the right direction. And what else have we got, Grace? Was there any other question?
Well, I just wanted to talk about, we can circle back to the very beginning. You talked about objectification. And I think we often think about objectification as the hypersexualization of women's bodies, but I think there's a duality to that because you were talking about it when you're talking about being told what to do with your body as far as getting off the chairs, act like a lady. And can you talk a little bit about the duality of that objectification? Objectification is the hypersexualization of women, but it's also the control of women's bodies, right? It's this is what you should do. This is how you can be ladylike. It's just a different form of that.
There was an article that I was reading that was in Meridian magazine. So there's actually quite a lot. It always shocks me when LDS Living or Meridian magazine, something very LDS focused, starts talking about healthy sexual messages, and it mixes these really healthy messages about modesty culture and judgment and how we see our bodies with a little bit of, there's always just that undercurrent of problematic stuff. And I think what feminism did, while it was sort of reclaiming the right to decide for oneself what should we, a woman is a sexual, inherently sexual being. um there was this phenomenally angry article about how being sex positive, and I think body issues are related to that, was just this horrible lie being sold to women, and it was sexualizing children from a very young age. Now, there are issues in today's world with sexualization of vulnerable people, but I think when we are reclaiming for ourselves what my own relationship with my body is, um, with withholding judgment about sexual values, with engaging with if questions like if you're going to use pornography, is that an ethical thing to do? You have engaged a sex worker, and that sex worker, are they going to be paid by you, or are you going to access this for free on the internet? So are you exploiting this person? And I think often for me, it comes back to this value of, am I exploiting someone else? So if we're withholding judgment, and Sara, you have sort of clear views about you've had a lot of experience where pornography has been part of a problem. There are a lot of couples who will use images that are sensual, and individuals who use images that are sensual to to explore their own sexuality. And I think it's about just making sure that we're being ethical. It's making sure that I understand what my values are about my body. I start here, I begin and end here. You don't, um there isn't an overlap with you and how you see your body, that you're going to wrap up in a cloak of religion and then project that about how I should be seeing or feeling with my body. Because once we do that, it affects our relationships, it affects our self-confidence, our health, all of these kind of things. I know that was a bit of a ramble and a tangent, but
I think there's a few really simple things about the hypersexualization and objectification, and it goes back to this patriarchal situation and system that we're enmeshed within still. Even though we're making some progress, we're not making phenomenal progress, but we are kind of making some. Where the way that men police how women sit, how women dress, how women move is very much about taking ownership over their body and what they want other men to see and what they want other men to get gratification and enjoyment from. And it's like, you can't sit on a chair with your legs like that. You can't walk with a bra down here because I don't want other men to see anything like that. You're mine. I own. I control.
Right.
And
right.
and that's the problem with that. She's mine. You're mine. So I don't want you to sit in that way because and we say it's unladylike, it's unhealthy, and what we actually really mean is I don't want other people to see anything that I think belongs to me. So there's that ownership bit, which is really powerful and unhelpful.
And it goes
And
into the language that we're using, that yes, it's about ownership, but also there's a sort of society, women use their soft power in this dynamic to enforce those rules. But men can be you sly dog, and women,
absolutely, yeah.
If you are called,
well,
it's not appropriate, right?
It's literally the stud and the slag syndrome, isn't it?
Right.
Where you get, and I actually remember talking to my mother-in-law about an unmarried grandchild within the family many, many years ago, within the kind of extended family. And she kind of looked at me, absolutely fantastic, staunch Irish Catholic woman, and fits every stereotype, although we shouldn't stereotype, but she did. And she looked at me and she said, well, I never had that with any of mine. She said, I never had that with any of my girls getting pregnant out of marriage. And I said, but your son's got somebody else's daughter pregnant. That's different. That's the boys. Right. So we still have these dual standards, don't we? And I think the bit about pornography is a whole nother episode, podcast session all on its own. Because there is this sense that if women are being paid for pornography, then they've made a choice and it's okay. But actually, have they really made a choice, and is it really okay? Is money really the deciding factor in whether they've made a choice? And is that the deciding factor in whether it's okay? We could have we'll do a podcast on that at some point.
Let's do it. We should start a podcast. Let's do that.
The theology of pornography, I think we'll do. We write our own theology of pornography.
Right. Closing thoughts, because I've got a quick, very, very quick experience to share. So do you want to do some closing thoughts?
I guess my closing thoughts are, can we, all of us, start making an effort to really look at ways in which we've been conditioned and ways in which we've held on to shame about our own bodies, and start thinking about how we can let go of those, so you don't end up at 67 years of age having to have practice sessions with your best wife on air over the Zoom late at night to work out how you're going to wear a sleeveless dress. Let's start letting go of the body shaming, and let's understand the theology that has led to that, and where has that theology come from? Has it come from God, or has it come from a patriarchal person that wishes to exert ownership?
So I want to share this story in no way as a sort of insult even to the institution that is really, really important, has been really important in my journey. My Mormonness will always exist, although that's not how I identify. Now but it's in my DNA. So I was asked if I would be part of a show. And I thought it was just as simple as that, but the creative part of me wanted to come up with something really special about my Mormon journey. And so I created a sort of beginning, which was a bit of a highlights reel of messages that we've had from general authorities. Now, nobody in the audience would have known who these men were who were speaking, but it was just sort of this sense of patriarchal men in suits, very, very white, who were making clear statements that gay marriage is a threat to society, and these clear statements about what the effect, the suicide rate in Utah, and all of these things that happen as a consequence of shame and sexual shame. I was going to use fire in my performance. It ended up we had to sort of make a last minute change to LEDs so that I didn't set the building on fire. But I did this. I did this performance to Imagine Dragons' Believer.
It was
And as
phenomenal.
part of my story, you know, we're using the burlesque techniques. I did decide to go braless down to my pasties at the end. I was wearing pride pasties, and held up at the end a trans flag which said, "I love my trans kids." I came second in the whole of Scotland for my Mormon protest performance art, and I just felt really, really validated because so many people were really emotional about it. There were a lot of tears in the audience, and my trans kid who was there was just really, really emotional about it. So I had such a positive opportunity to work out some of those things through burlesque. What I would say is, if you are wearing items of sacred clothing, remember your health. Remember that if it's causing you physical problems, that you can make those adaptations. You know that we know that women experience thrush and other issues, serious issues. Think about that. Think about your body and how God sees that as perfect. You don't have to make it more perfect. You just are perfect. The other just really brief thing that I wanted to share, and I'm just conscious that I want to make sure that this is not a call to arms or is in any way disrespecting the temple covenants that I had made. But the night before I was baptized, I got to spend some time with Sara and another very, very dear friend who is, and both of these women are Latter-day Saint women of great faith. And I knew that I needed to have this rite of passage, which up until that day I'd thought it was going to be the baptism, and I thought it was going to be all about that. And it was awesome. We were in Loch Lomond. It was a phenomenal day, and I love you all for your support, and just thank you all of you who did that for me. But the night before, God was there. I felt that it was time to be able to say goodbye to my temple garments. I went outside into the garden with my sisters, and I lit fire and said goodbye to them. We prayed over them, giving thanks for the job that they had done, but I didn't need them anymore. And as I put one temple slipper on top of the fire to recognise and acknowledge the places that I had been, and the second slipper was to represent the journey that I was now taking. Yes, I used fire, and it was holy, and we felt the spirit, and I felt really thankful to be able to have that. So removing clothes, saying goodbye to clothes, walking around in your own skin. Have you looked at your body? Can you celebrate being made in the image of God if you haven't even looked at your breasts? Look at those, Mormon parlance, sacred parts. You don't have to do that. You need a language to be able to talk about it. It's how we keep you safe. It's how we keep children safe. Look at your vagina. Look at your wonderful, glorious body. Don't hold anything in. No holding your stomach in. And that is, I guess, my invitation to you. There's someone that you possibly haven't quite fully met yet, and it is you. So enjoy that, whether it's dance, whether it's going outside and connecting with nature, whether it's staying in your bedroom, whether you involve someone else that you care about and are intimate with in that journey. We bless it. And thank you so much for being able to hang out with us tonight.
Thank you, ladies, so much for being here. We'll say goodbye.
Thank Okay, see
Until
you
next
Thank
time.
you. Bye.
See you at the next session.
Enjoy Sunstein, folks. There's some good stuff happening.